Hello everyone, it's Molly here again for another Blind Girl Storytime video, and this one's a doozy. Side note, if I'm looking like super athletic right now, that's because I was just doing Pilates and I haven't changed. So I have like a workout headband in, a sports bra, and like, you know, a workout hoodie. So that's why. Oh my god, I got an itch. Oh, so itchy. Oh. Okay. Also, the lighting isn't great today because it's kind of like a really cold June day and it's not super sunny, so hopefully the lighting's okay. Yeah, all of that stuff aside, as you can see from the title, this is about one of the worst blind girl accidents I have ever had. Now, this is definitely up there with the time I almost broke my neck, which I've already done a story time video on, so I will link that down below in case you haven't seen it. But yes, those two, like this story and that, are definitely my two worst blind girl accidents of all time. So, without further ado, I'm just gonna jump into it. This was a cold, snowy, icy, dreary, overcast Canadian winter day, just to set the scene for you guys. It was not nice. Now this story takes place when I was in grade 4, I believe. I'm like almost 100% certain I was in grade 4. Pretty sure. So I was in grade 4, it was winter, and like I said, super snowy, so all of us little kids have literally, like, it's so snowy out, we had snow pants on, winter coats, winter boots, the whole shebang, for recess and lunch break and everything. So I was all bundled up in my winter gear, and I was at kind of like the corner of our playground where we had one of those fences that like two triangles and they connect in the middle. And it's basically so they could open them up and a car could drive through into the playground area, or you could close them and put a chain between them so a car could not drive through, if you guys know what I'm saying. So there was like nothing underneath and nothing above the triangles. They were like just two triangles that would meet in the middle, and then it was all empty space. I feel like that's really hard to explain. If I can find an image, I'll insert an image of what I'm talking about, but I don't even know what I would Google to find an image to match that, so I don't know. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying. So I was standing near that, and then on either side of that part there was actual like big tall 6-foot tall chain link fences. So I was over there and the recess bell rings, and this was, I believe, our lunch break or the afternoon recess. It was definitely the afternoon, like it wasn't morning recess. And I was literally the last child on the playground, like it was just me. And because it was winter time, I'm sure my other blind and visually impaired peeps will totally feel me on this one. It's more disorienting because everything is just white. And so for me, I was kind of like a little bit disoriented, and I started to run because they were like, "Molly, Molly!" They were like screaming my name to get in for the end of recess, and all my friends had run ahead of me and I couldn't really properly orient myself or see where I was supposed to be going. So I just, now, don't do this, other blind peeps, don't do this. I just started to run and ran smack into the fence. And I honestly, like, this bit's a bit of a blur because, you know, it was like a really big smash to my head, so I can't actually, like, it was one of those moments where you're in like the twilight zone. You know, in like cartoons they show like all the things swirling around the heads and stuff when these kind of things happen. It was one of those moments where I was like totally out of it and then kind of like came to, and almost like you're numb. You don't feel the pain at all when it happens because it's like your adrenaline's going and you're just in total shock. So I knew I hit my face really hard on the fence, but I didn't really know that anything bad had actually happened to me. And so I just kind of like, once I ran into the fence, I knew where I was, and then I was like, okay, I need to turn and go this way. So I started to run, and I had my cane with me and I was using my cane, but because it was the triangle fence, that didn't have any fence below it. My cane went straight under the fence and my face went right into the fence. So that's kind of why I explained that triangle fence. So I had my cane and I was using it, it just did not help me in this moment. And so one of my friends saw me and came running back over to me, and she started freaking out because my face was pouring blood, like pouring blood. And then a teacher who was holding the door open like way across the playground saw me and started freaking out, and they were trying to like run me into the school so I could get up to the principal's office. But once I got into the school, I had to go down a long hallway, up some stairs, across the front entrance, and then into the office. There was a trail of blood. I'm sorry for any of you that get woozy with this. I probably should have given a disclaimer up front, but you're here now. It's only gonna get worse. So there was literally a trail of blood all through the hallway, up the stairs and across. And my friend actually had to throw her snow pants out because they were like a light tan color and they were covered in my blood. It was bloody massacre. Blood was everywhere. I was just uncontrollably bleeding from my face. So by the time I got to the office, they like had been warned. One of the teachers like ran up to tell them I was coming. And so I got up there and they had all the med kit out and everything, and they started having me apply pressure. But the problem is I was having an inner nosebleed, so I was bleeding from the inside, and I was having an outer nosebleed because, prepare yourselves here, I'd actually almost completely ripped off half of my nose. From exactly here, I ripped all down to where it meets your face, and then underneath here. So like all of this was basically like only attached kind of by the front section, or like the middle section. And so I was bleeding because of that massive gash in my face, and I was bleeding because obviously like I hit the bone and it just, I don't know, rattled my nose and was causing me to bleed from the inside. So I was bleeding double time and it was just uncontrollable. And it got to the point where they realized the bleeding isn't stopping. We need to call her mom and get her to a hospital. So they called my mom. My mom rushed over, picked me up, and got me to an emergency walk-in clinic. So it's not the emergency room, but it's not just a walk-in clinic. I don't know. I don't know if they have those everywhere, but we have it here. So she brings me there. They get me straight in because I'm bleeding. Finally, it's finally starting to stop after a really long time. And they looked at my nose and they were like, "You are so lucky you did not break your nose." Like, it was a very close call. And they ended up having to stitch my nose all down here and down here, and I had to have this really awesome big white bandage going all across my nose. It was real cute for the next few weeks before my stitches came out. And after that, it sounds silly, but like it was very scarring for me. And I think it was really scarring because it was the first time I realized that my visual impairment made me more vulnerable. And it was the first time I started to understand the impact of my visual impairment. And it was the first time I felt like I can't trust my cane to keep me safe. And it was the first time I felt like just extremely vulnerable and abandoned and lonely and scared and different. I just felt like if I could see, this wouldn't have happened to me. If I could see like all of my friends can see. I still had sight at that time, but not, you know, the way everybody else did, which is obviously why I used a cane. And it was just the first time when I was like, oh wow, like I can't see, and this is what happens because of that. And it was really traumatizing to the point where I actually virtually didn't sleep for the next year and a half. For the rest of my grade 4 year, so that was winter, so for the second half of the year, and then all through my grade 5 year, I was actually on like the school knew I would come in to school like an hour to an hour and a half later than everybody else because I wouldn't sleep at night. I would actually just stay up and pace, and I would have nightmares, and we had to have a cot in my parents' bedroom underneath their bed so I could go in the middle of the night and pull it out to sleep on the floor of their bedroom. And then eventually got to the point where they realized I was just ending up coming in there every night, that they set up a full bed in their bedroom for me to sleep in or not sleep in. And I would literally just lay awake or pace the room all night until I couldn't pace anymore and I couldn't stay awake any longer, and I would just crash. And then I would have to sleep in because I didn't sleep during the night really, and then I would go to school. So that was kind of in my grade 5 year. And I ended up actually going to a sleep clinic and having to get sleep testing done to figure out if I had a sleep disorder or something like that. And it was kind of determined that I didn't have any form of a sleep disorder. It was more of a anxiety, PTSD kind of situation from my accident. And it horribly affected me. I would get awful nausea and I would feel really sick, and we weren't connecting that it was like an anxiety sickness, like an anxiety stomachache. But we didn't connect at that time until later in my life, when I was officially diagnosed with anxiety and PTSD following my neck breaking incident. That the exact same way I was feeling when I was younger is the way I was feeling when I was officially diagnosed. So we're now connecting the dots that I actually dealt with anxiety and kind of PTSD-like symptoms much earlier in my life than we realized. But it was very traumatic, and it was just a huge awakening moment for me. And although I'm lucky that you cannot really physically see a change in the pigment of the skin on my nose, like there's no kind of visible scar in that sense, there's a visible scar in the sense that I have a bump on this side of my nose that's becoming more and more apparent as I get older for some reason. I don't know if it is scar tissue, I don't know if it's broken cartilage inside, I'm not sure what it is. I'm actually going to go to the doctors and hopefully go to see my ENT, ears, nose and throat specialist, to figure out what's going on there and if there's anything I need to get done to it. Fingers crossed I don't need like a nose job or anything, but at the end of the day, if I do, I do. I mean, it is what it is. I don't want to change the shape or the look of my nose, but it does, the bump on the side here where the stitches met kind of the bone, there's like this cartilage bump, and then on the same side, in this where the center of your nose is, I have a crack off to the side in my cartilage. So this side of the nose and mostly the middle comes out further than this side. It's like there's a cut, there's like a hole almost, and then it's a little bit, the cartilage ends a little further back, and then like I said, I have the bump here, whereas this one's just totally smoothed down. And physically, it's very hard to see. Like, I doubt any of you would ever notice it, and most people don't notice it until I point it out, and then they're looking at my nose and they're like, oh yeah, there is a bump there, and there is a weird split at the end of your nose. Or a lot of people, like, I don't know, maybe this sounds weird, but like if somebody goes and like pokes the end of your nose, they're like, hey, your nose is like, if you push on the end of my nose, you can feel my cartilage split open. And you can like put your finger inside. That sounds so gross. I know. I hate hearing about like nose and teeth. Whenever people tell stories about how they like lost their tooth or broke their nose, it really gives me the heebie-jeebies. I can hear about breaking any other bone. I can hear about surgery and gore, like nose and teeth really freak me out. And I think the nose thing comes from my nose accident. Like, it's just hard for me because I can relate with the pain and everything. But I'm gonna go see somebody mainly because it is physically becoming more apparent. But like I said, as long as it doesn't get too much worse, I'm okay with it. But it's more so because I do have like really, really bad sensitivity on this side of the nose. So like if I touch the end of my nose where the crack is, or if I run my finger along where the stitches were, where the bump is now, it like really tickles my nose and almost hurts my nose on the inside of the right nostril, which is very strange, but it just does. So we just want to go get it checked out to make sure, because obviously it has grown over time and it has split more at the end over time. So I don't want it to continue to split even more as I get older. And if it's going to do that, I want to, you know, talk to a doctor to see, is that going to be a problem if it continues to split at the tip of my nose, or if this continues to grow, is there any other complications that will cause? So I don't know. I'm going to make an appointment and see somebody about it, because it's just been bothering me and I've been noticing it a lot more lately. And like I said, I just want to know, should I expect it to continue to split more and the bump to grow more? And yeah, I feel like I'm being really repetitive, but just if that's going to cause complications later on down the line. Yeah, so I don't know, tell me, I would love to hear in the comment section, what was kind of for you, if you also are blind or visually impaired or have a disability, what was like a defining moment for you that helped you kind of come to a realization of what your disability means to you, or how it impacts your life, or you know, what was a really bad injury that you had because of your disability, or what's kind of been like a really defining moment for you, or something that really rattled you and changed your life. Because I know it sounds silly, but that really was like a life-changing moment for me, and that's actually what terrified my parents when I fell and really badly injured my neck. Was they instantly, when I called them to tell them about it, they instantly thought back to grade 4 when I almost broke my nose. And that was what instantly made them like rush down to see me and make sure I was okay, even though I was like, oh, I'm fine, because my mom was like, I literally instantly had a flashback to you in grade 4 when you hurt your nose, and I just knew it wasn't going to be good. And turns out she was right, because that triggered some pretty nasty PTSD and anxiety, so she was right. Like I said, I'll link the neck story down below, and as I mentioned in that video, I'm definitely going to be filming my journey with anxiety and PTSD with OCD symptoms coming up soon. So definitely expect that soon, and there's a really exciting giveaway with that video as well, so look out for that. Thumbs it up if you enjoyed, subscribe if you have not joined the family already, and I'll see you in the next video, guys. Bye!